So good morning, everybody. So today we're going to be focusing on the ground, actually. And so I'd love for you all to get in a position where it's easy for you to look at the ground. If it's out your window, that's okay. But the closer you can be to the ground, the better. Again, if it's on the distance and you just can look from, your inside your window or something like that. I know, Della, you're indoors today, and but give yourself a vantage point that allows you to look at the ground. And if you need to move around, go ahead and take a moment to do that. And ideally the ground being like the earth in some fashion rather than the deck. So if you can look at the earth, that would be great. And we will take our eyes away from the ground from time to time, but yeah, just start with being able to see it. That would be awesome. So go ahead and get yourself in a comfy place or readjust your place if you need to do that right now. And just let yourself absorb your moment right now. All you have to do is just be here and just notice what arises for you. See what your mind first starts to focus on, what sensations come to your awareness. Now we'll be a little bit more intentional about where we guide our awareness. So let's begin inward and let's go right to our feet, right to the earth to begin with. So being mindful of what the sensation is of the soles of your feet on whatever they are touching. So maybe it's the socks you're wearing or the shoes. It could just be maybe your naked feet on the floor or the earth beneath your feet. Just bring your attention to that right now. Notice how it feels. And then as you become more aware of the soles of your feet, each little toe and big toe, the heel, ball, and all different parts, then let yourself now start to send your awareness from the soles of your feet down to the earth. So imagining that the soles of your feet are the same place where the tree might come and sprout out from the earth. And so now you're going to go down as if you had roots attached to the soles of your feet, and you're going to send your awareness from the soles of your feet down into the earth right now. Just start to explore. Let your mind and your sensations just explore what it would be like if you could have roots sent down into the earth beneath you right now. Okay, good work. And as you're down there with your roots stretching out, now you're going to start to bring some of those nutrients back up to you and your body, your physical body. So on your next breath inward, go ahead and just imagine that those nutrients are coming back into your body from the earth beneath your feet through your own roots. Taking a nice deep breath in, letting it travel all the way up your body, and then leaving the crown of your head as you exhale. And do that for the next 2 or 3 breaths. Nice deep breaths in, and then a big release. Okay, good work. So now, since we're attentive to our breath, just notice what your breath's rhythm is in this moment. How deeply is it filling the cavity of your chest? How fully and completely? Or maybe how shallow is it? Just whatever's your own rhythm in this moment. And I know we usually save gratitudes for the end, but just send a blessing to your own breath this morning. That area, your lungs, the place in your body that holds the breath. Nice. Now noticing your posture, how your feet are planted on the ground beneath you, how your neck is situated on top of your shoulders. Are your shoulders slouching forward? Are they standing more upright, pushed back, with your heart exposed? Or is it a bit more maybe protective or curled in? Just noticing it at first. You can shift it or change it in a little bit. Great. And on your next breath in, you can adjust your posture if you weren't loving the way you were sitting necessarily. And now with your ears, go ahead and send your awareness out onto the landscape, listening for the sound that most attracts you right in this moment. Nice, just noticing what direction it's coming from, the quality of that sound, maybe how high or low it is on the landscape. You can even let your curiosity wander about what the intention of that sound is, why it's being made right now. Lovely. Now go ahead and search the landscape for a sound that's a bit more subtle. Unless the one you were listening to was subtle, then find one that's even more subtle, more soft and gentle, one you have to really stretch your ears for. It's a good practice to do that every once in a while. It's also something that helps us during the times when there might be a lot of busyness happening around us, a lot of chaos, lots of sounds, lots of stuff going on. And even amidst the chaos, if we can listen for the softer, gentler voices, sometimes that can help bring more calm to us. And now bring your awareness to the sounds very near to you. Maybe they're quiet sounds, maybe they're loud sounds, but listen for the ones that are maybe just right over your shoulder or right in front of you. See who wants to connect with you right now. Good work. And I know some of you have your eyes closed right now, and that's great. If you are in a place where you're ready to, you can gently open your eyes. Just let your eyes stay really nice and soft when you open them. Gazing out across the landscape. It's natural for us to just look near first. So let your eyes just stay near, but using owl eyes in case some of you maybe have had your eyes open. You can focus on one point in the distance and just let your vision become really soft, and also at the same time expand your peripheral vision. So allowing yourself to look in all directions as much as you possibly can, stretching as far as you can see. And then for those of you who are looking more close, you can now start to look more deeply into the landscape around you and send your vision further and further and further and deeper and deeper. Maybe there's trees, you can look in between the leaves and see how far you can stretch your vision today. And for those of you who maybe have houses and maybe too many trees, if that's such a thing, around you to see beyond them, you can glance up at the sky just for a moment and allow yourself to take a look at the sky and see how far can you look into the sky. How far will your eyes allow you to travel up there? In the birdsong class I just read, we finished our 6 weeks, and I just read a Wendell Berry poem, and at the end he said something about, I can't remember, his line was something like the day 6 stars or the night 6 stars, something about basically like looking into the sky and seeing the stars during the daytime, or just imagining that they're up there. I can't remember his exact phrase, I'll have to look it up again, but just wonder if you could look so far that you could actually see the stars. Good work. And so now, with your posture the way you'd like it to be, and your breath, allowing it to be just natural in this moment, nice and regulated, knowing that this is the only place you need to be, as long as that's the truth for you. If you've given yourself this time with us, then just let yourself fully be here. Let go of anything else. You're just here with me, and I'm going to guide you. So you don't have any responsibility at all, just to breathe and to follow my direction if you'd like, my invitations. So, like I said before, and for those of you who arrived a little late, we're going to be focusing on the ground. So make sure you're in a position where you can see the earth, the ground beneath you. And it could be off in the distance, that's okay too. But the nearer you can have it, I think the better for this particular exercise. So let your eyes just start to gently gaze down toward the ground and allow yourself to find a place on the ground to look at that's comfortable for your vision, not a place you have to really struggle to focus on. And we're going to use our owl eyes. So this practice is great because it allows us, I'm actually going to pop it in the chat too, as long as it's saved. Oh, it didn't. Anyway, I had copied it before. Let me see. So one thing I think that's really beautiful about this practice is that it allows us to give some attention on the subtle movements that are happening in the ground beneath us. And also it's an opportunity to strengthen your owl eyes practice, as well as your capacity to quiet your mind. So we're gonna give ourselves some attention to that right now. So first, just begin, like I said, with giving your attention to the whatever it is that draws your attention. And then, as we do with owl eyes when we're looking off in the distance, just allow your vision to soften. So find one point, one thing to look at, and then just let everything else become really soft. And we're going to stay like this for just a few moments, and then I'll give you another piece of direction after that. If something captures your attention, you're welcome to go ahead and look at that, whatever it is, for a moment or so, and then just bring your eyes back to owl eyes again. So, and that's just a reminder for folks. Sometimes people wonder, what does this have to do with birds? A lot. So, deepening our practice of owl eyes and quieting our minds helps us to become more soft, I suppose, in our presence on the landscape, allowing the birds to come closer to us and not quite so distant and frightened. And so, this is just one other vantage point for which to practice that. So now we're going to deepen our experience here. So while we're giving our attention to this one aspect of the land beneath our feet, I also want you to be aware of the sounds. So sometimes it can be a challenge to focus on one of our senses and not tune out the others. So we're going to layer this a bit today. So you're going to be giving your awareness and attention to the ground and all that's happening down there. And also at the same time, expanding your listening and just being aware of who's talking and what is speaking in the world around you. Also noticing if the voices start to shift or change the longer you're sitting out here. Good work, you all. So now we're going to add another layer. So as you're looking at the landscape beneath your feet, also this time, start to look at the different layers of the earth and the ground. So you might have just been looking at the surface. I know for me, there's a bunch of leaves on the ground. So now I want you to start to explore what's underneath those. So not just looking at the surface, but going another layer deeper if that's possible. Now, for the last couple of minutes of our practice, I want you to find maybe one little critter, if you can, to just spend some time with. If there's like an insect or an ant or a bee or whatever it might be that is showing up in the area that you're looking, just stay with that one for a little bit while also being attentive to the sounds around you. Kind of let yourself go on a journey with it right now. So, for the last moment or two, let your gaze start to slowly creep up higher and higher and higher, taking your time with it, looking out further and further. So, you're going to go higher and further until you're about eye level. And just let yourself stay there for a moment. Now, if you'd like, you can close your eyes and take this next moment to offer a blessing or gratitude to the ones that you connected with this morning in whatever way you did. Okay, nice work, everybody. You can open your eyes if you want to. And just a quick question. So, as I'm speaking, can you hear the background noise of the? You can hear that? Yeah. Okay. So, I'm going to keep trying to mute myself because the landscaping crew is in the neighbor's house right now. Yeah, and I'd love to hear from anyone who wants to share about their experience. If you need to go, totally understand. And we'll see you next time. If you'd like to stay for our chat, we usually chat for a little while afterwards. So, yeah, if anyone wants to share about their experience of what just occurred for them with this practice, just raise your hand and call on you. And Anne, did I see your hand up before a minute ago? No? Okay. Yeah, Joy, go for it.
The perfect morning to be looking at the ground here because I had a bear come here through last night. And so a few of my feeders ended up on the ground, and the seed, of course, is spilled everywhere. But I was okay with that because we've got a lot of birds coming through now who will feed off the ground. We've got a lot of little sparrows and the juncos. I've got the pine siskins. the grackles. And so I'm thinking, okay, I'll just leave the seed on the ground for these birds. And as we were doing the practice this morning, a few of them came along, and there's a red-winged blackbird now on my feeder that did stay. Yeah, it was really quite interesting. And I was just at the end there where we were looking at something. It was a grackle, a pair of grackles actually came down, the female first, and pecking around in all these seeds. And then the male came down, and the female kept going up towards where the male was and taking a quick peck at the ground, where thinking, I suppose, that maybe he's got the better seeds over there. And then she would turn and skitter off the other direction. So it was kind of interesting to watch the pair of them this morning. So yes, thank you very much. That was great today.
Yeah, you bet, Joy. Oh, that's so sweet just to hear about that like intimate interaction between the two of them, and who knows what was going on with them, but just to get that level of a deeper connection with those two. Yeah, and I don't, I'm sorry that your feeders are on the ground. I know what had happened to me last year when the bear comes through, but also kind of how cool the journey that you just sort of went on with them and with that, with what happens there. So yeah, thanks for that, Joy. All right, anyone else want to share their experience? Yeah, Claudia, please.
Hi, yes. I when we were doing the, just looking at the ground and then trying to go deeper, and I thought, well, I can't see deeper. And then I realized that, I pulled up grass and I pulled up clover and I pulled up dandelions and different. So I could visualize what those roots were like underneath. And that was a neat experience. And actually, I was thinking, for some of the things that are in my yard, I'm really not sure of the roots, but most of it I could. But it gave me a new area of inquiry, a new thing to think about. And when you had us looking for like a insect or something to follow, and I was looking around, I was thinking, gee, I don't see any ants or anything. And there'd been some butterflies out earlier, and then the wind kind of came up, and I hadn't been seeing them so much. But as I was sitting there and thinking, not going to see anything, a wasp came to investigate me. And so I was of course, that kind of made me a little nervous, but he was okay. He was just checking me out. So I thought, oh, I did get an encounter. So that was fun. And I kept being distracted because there's a woodpecker somewhere, and I haven't been able to spot him. I've seen the downy woodpeckers. I have one tree that they come to sometimes, but he's like over on a telephone pole, and I just haven't been able to catch seeing him yet. So I keep going, oh, can I see you now? Anyway, that's what's going on for me.
Right on, Claudia. Thank you for that. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I'm not going to talk too much today while these guys are going, so you guys don't have to listen to that. But thank you, Claudia. Yeah, who would like to share next? Gabrielle, please.
It's so interesting. I just got off my Zoom and I was watching a recording of a family member's funeral mass in Holland. And so I was kind of full of that energy. And it was very lovely. It was just a lot of love in it. And so when I came out to do your session, it was actually drizzling. And so one of this, well, there's so many things that happen. One of them was having to do with the roots. I love the grounding going into the roots. And I had a really neat experience when my mom died, where she was really having trouble letting go. And so I worked with her roots. So when we went down in the roots right away, it just was a beautiful following of the funeral mass I was just watching. And but then when we went to sounds, the subtle sound, I was kind of listening for hummingbirds, but they just don't make a lot of sounds. So I had put the umbrella up because now it's kind of wet, and I heard the raindrops on my umbrella, and it was just magical. Um, and then when we went into the earth, I did like Claudia, I just kind of had to visualize it. And I saw an earthworm, kind of just happily drilling his way through the ground. Anyway, it was really wonderful. And then when we went to eye level, then I did see the hummingbirds because I'm on the balcony. So, um, and then my cat walked by because he can't be outside, but he can be on the balcony. And I just have this real love relationship with my cat. So altogether, it was just magical. So thank you.
Yeah, you bet, Gabrielle. Thank you for all of that. And what an interesting and beautiful journey to have listened to the just come off the Zoom for the funeral for your relative. And then we focus on the ground too, which is where we all are going to go back to, you know?
Yeah,
So
yeah.
yeah, what a powerful thing. And honestly, one of the most lovely times of my life was when I lived in a yurt for about 5 or 6 years. And the yurt is amazing because it's like they talk about in Alaska where they had like 500 names for snow because there was all these different types of snow that the Alaska natives used to, or maybe still do, know and have relationship with. And I started to get a sensation of that living in the yurt because you'd hear all the different types of rain or snow. You could really hear it coming onto the roof because there's no, I mean, there's a tiny little thin layer of insulation, but that's it. It's a canvas wall, and then this like, sort of wool or sometimes depends on what people use, but this little thin layer of insulation, and that's it. And so with most of our modern houses, we rarely get to hear the variety of sounds. And so just sitting under your umbrella, what a beautiful thing that you got to have that relationship and that connection with the sound of rain for just that moment. That there's sort of different personas that the rain has, and you got to meet one of them today. How
Well,
beautiful.
it's so interesting because I do my dream work and I have a geodesic yurt in my yard. And so I really relate to that, what you're saying. I mean, even like leaves dropping on it, or even seeing the shadows of the leaves when it's sunny. Yeah,
Yes.
it's a whole different earth experience.
It is. It's a different way of being, in a daily experience, I think, is when you can step into a structure that doesn't have as many barriers to the outside world, enough to keep you comfortable and warm and
Right.
dry and safe and all those things, but not so much that we're completely insulated from all of the sound. So yeah, thank you, Gabrielle, for this journey today. I appreciate
Thank
it.
you.
Yeah.
Lots of blessings.
You too. Anyone else want to share their story from this morning? Maybe while someone ponders their own story, I know for me it was sweet because there was a sound. So you might be able to hear it in just a moment now that the lawn crew has stopped. Um, but I was hearing it, and at first I didn't think to identify it. But I was like, okay, I'm looking at the ground, but there's a sound coming from like it sounded kind of close, and I just sort of assumed cardinal because the level at which I could hear it, I thought was a cardinal level. But then when I really got when I after I asked you all, because that was a sound that triggered me to think about suggesting to you all to listen to sounds. And then I thought, okay, well, who is that? I was like, oh wait, that's the great crested flycatcher. And it's like it's low, and they're usually like fairly high. And so it just got me really curious. I was like, what's it doing? I didn't look over there. I stayed focused on my ground place, but yeah, and then I just really enjoyed fall. I'm relatively close to the ground where I am right now, so I was able to look kind of deeply here, and I was able to follow this one fly. This little teeny little fly kept coming back to one leaf. And it would go away for a minute, and it would come back to the same leaf, and go away for a minute, and come back to the same leaf. And it was like an ant that was doing something. And I eventually lost it, as it was kind of journeying under the leaves. But what was so rich for me was when I brought my eyes up. I didn't know this would happen, but when I brought my eyes up, somehow it was like this juxtaposition in this strange moment where it's not like I didn't know who I was, but all of a sudden I sort of felt like I was the ants and the fly. Like I was this small little creature, and there are these, there's the beautiful landscaping around me. There's palmettos and ferns and these big live oak trees, but I was like, oh wait, am I down there with them? Like on this little being. And really, I mean, we kind of are, you know, in it's just a perspective thing. Like sometimes I can feel like this big giant, you know, and it's just like I have dominion over the the ground beneath me, you know. But then when I looked up and I kind of thought of myself as that little ant, I was like, oh no, I'm really tiny. Just this little tiny creature right here. Yeah, it was just nice to have that shift in perspective too for me, you know, where I took myself out of sort of my normal Kristi mind and without again without expecting, I wasn't intending to like take myself into their world, but that's just what happened when I looked up. I was like, oh wow, like I'm really little. Yeah. So that was it was lovely for me. Anyone else want to share before we head out? Yeah, Della, please.
Yeah, well, today is a good day to look at the ground because we are socked in with fog. And something I just love when it's foggy is watching the fog roll in. It's like clouds passing, you know, just 20 feet off the ground. And it's just a really interesting, quiet, really quiet, very few sounds this morning. And last night, according to Birdcast, there were over 2 million birds that crossed our county. So should be a good day for birding if you can see. And while we were doing this sort of meditation, I was thinking of what it was like when this was all forest and there were no houses. And I just imagined all the houses gone, all the roads gone, all the landscaping, and just forest. And there were not many birds. And then, just as we were supposed to look at something that was a critter that was alive, there was a hummingbird. And so I focused in on it and watched it for a while, tried to identify it, but not sure. Anyway, it
Wow,
was
Della,
lovely.
yeah.
It was lovely.
Yeah, thanks for that journey there. That's beautiful. I love the fog. Again, I feel like it's one of those entities in the world that has a persona, you know? It really does feel like it's, and I don't know, I spent only a little bit of time in foggy places, like the kind of fog that you get, you know, that's a real unique being that you get to interact with. And do you feel like it has many faces, or is it often like a similar kind of face to the fog, like a persona, if you could say?
Gosh, I'm not sure how to answer that, but what I feel with the fog is a quietness and like it's like you're cozy and safe and everything's quiet and the fog is rolling in, not making any noise at all. It's so quiet. Um, Yeah. And is the fog different? Well, yes. It starts as a marine layer out over the ocean and it rolls in, usually when there's heat in the Central Valley and causes the I can't describe the scientific reason that it does that, but it rolls in. Yeah.
Yeah, and now I was more curious about your own experience, not so much the science behind it, but just sort of like what you've experienced of, again, like that entity of fog that it comes to your home, you know, because I feel like it's a presence, you know, when you're around that kind of fog, it's like you're around a presence,
Yeah.
and everybody feels it. Like I've heard that from a lot of people. The birds go more quiet during foggy times, and everything's a little quieter and softer, and yeah, but it's almost like this sense of reverence, you know, if like someone like that people deeply respect has just entered the room, you all kind of get quiet and you're like, what are they gonna say? Like, where are they gonna go? Who are they talking to right now? You know, that kind of a thing. That's how I sort of feel around the fog, that kind of fog anyway. Yeah, like I just want to keep watching it. It's like, wow, what are you gonna do now? You know? Yeah. Thanks, Stella. Thank you so much. Wow, what beautiful and rich and varied experiences folks are having today out there on your lands. So thanks for painting that picture for all of us to witness it with you, the experience. Yeah. Well, everybody, have a beautiful week. Carry this with you into your week. And we spend so much of our time looking down at the ground. I think unless you get yourself trained to use owl eyes and keep your head up even as you're walking, we still tend to look at the ground. And so this time, when you're looking at the ground, whether you're doing it with consciousness or not, maybe you'll have a little bit of a different relationship as you're walking on the earth. So I hope you all have a really beautiful rest of your week, and we'll see you next week if you're able to be here. All right. Hello, Marisa. I didn't say hi to you before, and I think Gabrielle and just in some of you might have come a little bit later. So hi, 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 and goodbye. All right.
Thank you. Thank you.
Everybody. See you. See you.